My name is Christy Busby, and you are about to listen to the next episode of my podcast called Fate, From Atheism to Enlightenment. So come on in, join me. We're going to talk about it all, from atheism to enlightenment. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Get ready, and welcome to your fate. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Fate. How's everybody doing today? On today's show, I am bringing you Megan Edge. They call her the Master Healer. I'm excited to bring her on so she can tell us all about the many ways in which she can transform your health. Megan Edge, welcome to your Fate, my friend. How you doing today?
Well, if this is my fate, then I'm
I'm
thrilled. I'm
thrilled to
thrilled.
have you as well. I've been reading up on you, and you really do have so many ways in which you're able to help people gain their health back. I'm excited to have you on. I have certainly been through the health ringer myself in my life. So this is a very important episode today for sure. But I always like to start at the beginning. And why don't we talk about how you came to be the master healer you are? What was your spiritual journey that got you here today?
Well, it starts with worms. Well, because I do get this question asked a lot. You know, people are really curious about what makes someone want to be a healer, because quite honestly, it's not for the faint of heart to put yourself out into the world as somebody who has the potential to help other people. When I was a little girl, some of my earliest memories were of saving little earthworms, little bugs. You know, if kids were pulling the wings off flies, I would come charging in and save the fly. And to this day, I still take the tiniest little bugs and I put them outside if I find them in the house. I'm the one who saves the spiders. Well, we all do in our house, but and then, you know, fast forward to, let's see, early 30s, always having been a helper. Right. In any job I ever did, I worked as a bank teller and a financial advisor. I worked in retail. I've done horticulture. Anytime I've done any kind of work, I'm always in that position of being of service to others. And what I started to appreciate was that people seemed drawn to my energy. And I would have these amazing conversations in the bank lineup, or, you know, at the waiting for the bus or wherever it was, where complete strangers would start telling me their life story and all their problems. And I would seem to know what to say in that moment that was helpful to them. And it occurred to me, I could get paid to do this work, or this could be my work, because it seems that people really respond to the advice that is coming to me. And the advice or the suggestions that would come to me intuitively. You know, I didn't know this person. How is it that this was happening? So in university, I added to the degree that I was currently doing, which is a degree in women's studies. I added to that counseling, crisis counseling, and social work. So I felt like those were good areas to really get my feet wet, you know, jump into really serious stuff. And in fact, my goal at the time was to become a therapist for women who had survived sexual assault and abuse, and help them heal from that. Because I guess I was born with this belief that we can heal. There's always a solution. And we can take those stories, we can take those events in our lives, those traumatic experiences, and we can change our relationship with them so that they become something that motivates us to be of service to others, instead of defining us as a victim of such and whatever it is. Right. And so in university, this is what I was doing. And I spent a year as a crisis counselor, an on-call crisis counselor. And I got to the end of my first year of training and I was exhausted. I was completely burnt out. And I realized I'm way too young to be doing this kind of work. I have not done my own work yet. I haven't lived enough of my life to really be able to demonstrate to people the possibility of healing. So I went in a number of different directions. But fast forward to my 30s, my mother had died in a pretty awful way. And the medical system had really failed her, and she'd failed herself at the same time. And I felt very powerless to help, to do anything more than just hold her hand. And then when my first daughter was born, my birth experience was unexpected. I ended up with well, I won't go into all the details, but it was a pretty traumatic birth, and she had a lot of allergies as a baby. So I started to educate myself about how I could make a difference for her, how I could make a difference for me and my healing. And eventually, I realized that I had studied enough of these alternative modalities for health and healing, because I had the experience with mainstream medicine that, as much as it can be amazing in an emergency situation, there's not a lot about it that is preventative. And often it's very oriented to a prescription as opposed to a solution, to understanding why the prescription is needed in the first place. And so once again, I had this epiphany of, oh, wait a minute, I have all this knowledge. Perhaps it's my time to put my shingle out and say, I'm here and I can help. And that was 30 years ago almost. And I've been doing this healing work ever since.
You range the gamut from being an herbalist to an energy medicine practitioner, Reiki, essential oils. You really have so many tools that you access in order for people to heal. And you talk a little bit that you have a healer's toolkit. What is in your healer's toolkit, my friend? What is in there?
Everything I can bring to the table. Well, you've listed some of them. My philosophy is this, and this is just my personal philosophy. People who specialize in a particular form of healing, that's amazing and that's awesome. I don't have the bandwidth for that. I'm a Gemini. I'm all over the place. If I find something that helps me or works for me or makes sense to me, I want to share that. I want to teach other people how to do it, and I want to be able to bring that to my clients. So in addition to the things that you've listed, I do a lot of work with nature as medicine, food as medicine, empowering people to navigate the medical system, and also empowering them to understand the amazing vitality that their bodies have to be in a healthy state, because we're in such a health crisis in our countries. I'm in Canada, you're in the US, North America. I imagine there are people from around the world looking at North America and going, what are they doing over there? What is that?
Everyone seems to be sick now. Everyone seems to have some sort of ailment that they're dealing with. And I'm old enough to remember when that was not the case. Not every cancer wasn't as extreme or normal. Diabetes, dementia now, it seems. I mean, everything autoimmune, whether it be Lyme disease or fibromyalgia or MS, or it seems to be, we are in an absolute health crisis in America for sure, but beyond our borders as well, that people just are not able or capable of living the type of healthy lives that we used to be able to live. And, I'm not exactly sure what the overall solve is for this, but I do know that it's going to come from people that are much more aligned with what you're doing than what is happening with Western medicine today. I do feel like our healthcare system in general is failing to do anything for us other than give us a pill to take for the rest of our lives. And there's no interest in finding a cure, it seems. There's no interest in finding what exactly is beneath your symptoms. It is very much a matter of, it feels, them just covering up whatever symptoms you have, masking them with a pill, and never finding any kind of true healing or true health in that. And also, Western medicine or medical, it's starting to change, but nobody even talks about what kind of food you're eating. What are you eating? What are you putting in your body? It's so important what we're putting in our bodies.
Absolutely. And it's also important what we're surrounding ourselves with, what our environment is. And you're right, 100 years ago, the cancer, dementia, ADHD, these were not normal parts of aging. And what our pharmaceutical companies have done is they have, through a very clever branding and marketing, they've normalized disease as a natural part of the aging process. It is absolutely not. And we know this. It's not hard to find the information. Look up blue zones. You will see people around the world who remember and are still being brought up in an environment where food is important, where the soil is important, where the environment is important, community is important, being out in nature is important, and the foods that we eat. And when you say, we don't seem to have the capacity to be healthy or to heal ourselves, that's because there's a huge lack of information easily available for people to learn how to take care of themselves. This is what our grandparents did. They knew how to take care of themselves. Our ancestors knew how to take care of themselves. And it wasn't like it was all golden and beautiful and everything. I mean, there were lots of things going on for people. But what we know is that if you're not eating a good, well-rounded, balanced diet with herbs and minerals and salts, your body is not going to be able to be at its best capacity. And when things do come at you, whatever those happen to be, stress or environmental, poisons or whatever it is, your body can deal with it when you're healthy, right? So what we have to do is we have to reclaim our health. And that's what I do is I help empower people to believe that they can, and then give them direction for how they can.
Now, what are most of your clients? Are they coming to you for, I know you heal emotional trauma, physical trauma. What types of clients are these clients that are very ill and they're like, you're my last hope? Kind of, I have tried everything in Western medicine and it has failed me miserably, and now I need to try something new.
Yes. I have many different types of clients that come to me, but yes, I've had many clients who they're at the end of their rope. They've tried everything, every pill, every mainstream medicine, every surgery, and they have an intuition, like they have an intuitive feeling that there must be something more. There has to be a better way. And so they've reached that sort of dark night of the medical soul, I like to call it. And they start to reach out. They start thinking who else is out there? And so maybe they do a search, like a Google search or something, or DuckDuckGo search, and they say, looking for a healer, alternative healing or energy healing. And I might pop up on their search. And if they feel comfortable with what they see on my website, or they like my YouTube videos, or they feel that there's a connection, then they will come to me. And I've helped people in that situation. I've helped them get off of antidepressants. I've helped them get off of medications they've been told they're going to have to be on for the rest of their life. And I've helped them understand their story. What is underneath the symptoms? The symptoms are there as your body's way of saying, help me. This is what we need help here. And so we do, before we even look at what is the diagnosis that they've been given, I look at what's the story, and I help them to see that story, the way they're telling their story, their life experiences, what they believe about them, what they believe about themselves. That's the work we do first before we even look at a herb that could help them. It's the story, because we can change an enormous amount in a person's health by healing the story first and foremost.
I absolutely agree. And I don't think that people really understand how deeply our emotional states affect what happens within it, especially if you're somebody that has had emotional trauma that you're covering up, or whatever story you're telling yourself. Your belief system is going to be super important in trying to get you to a state of balance. Is if our emotional state is off, your body is going to come out in your body somewhere.
Yes, it is.
And it just is. That is the way we're really built. We're much more energetic than we give ourselves credit for. And we're not nearly as mechanical as Western medicine would like us to think we are. So I think there's a big, huge disconnect in what medicine is today and what medicine is going to be in the future. I think eventually, I don't know when, but eventually the entire way we look at our physical and mental well-being is going to change, and it is going to be much more about what you're practicing than it is going to be about giving a pill to somebody to mask whatever symptoms they may be having that will not do them any, will not alleviate their or heal them in any way, shape, or form. It just will not.
Absolutely. And I've been through this in my own personal experience of our medical system, which again, I want to read it. There are amazing people in our medical system. They're doing the best they can. They're there because they want to help. They're stymied by the way in which medicine has been co-opted and has been co-opted for a very long time by monetary interests. I mean, let's just be perfectly frank about that. We know this. You don't have to go very far to find this.
It is a profit-driven industry. It's not a healing-driven industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we don't get the kind of research that we need. We don't get the kind of interdisciplinary approaches to medicine that we need. I love what you're saying about how this is changing. Like, we've come to a point now, and especially over the last 5 years, where a lot of people are waking up to what they have been spoon-fed, what they've been prescribed. They're waking up to the prescription of mainstream medicine, and they're not happy about it. And they know somewhere, and in their intuitiveness or in their consciousness, they know that there's got to be something else. And what gives me great hope is that we've only been using this medical model since the Rockefellers started this back in the early 1920s, 1930s. So that's not a very long period of time. That's about 100 years, right? We're almost there. In the whole span of human history, which we keep pushing that date back with archaeological discoveries, like we're going back 500,000 years now, even 700,000 years that we've been in community. We need to step away from this what we've been taught, that everybody was sick up until the 1920s, and then with the introduction of pharmaceuticals and vaccines, everybody's been healthy and we've all been living to 100. No, we're living less healthy and less well, and actually lower ages than people in the past have. Right. So there's a whole lot we have to unpack, and there's a whole lot we have to relearn about medicine. And I think we're going to get there.
I do too. And I also think that it's becoming more and more mainstream knowledge of just how important it is to be closer to nature. That does heal us. Even something as in getting your feet into the earth to get those natural ions going, that energy flow from Mother Earth is something that is very healing for people, physically and mentally healing. And I think that's becoming more apparent as we start understanding just how much we have put a barrier up between us and what we are a part of, which is we are a part of nature. We should be out in it. It is healing to us. It is what is going to take us back to who we are.
That's exactly it. And I think in the West especially, there is the mantra of that we're taught that we are separate from nature. Our role is to subject nature. Nature is there for us to exploit. When that's simply not true. We come from nature, like you say. We are a part of it. So this whole idea of dichotomy and how that separates us from our sense of self and our wildness and our vitality and our softness, it's something that people are craving, even if they're not sure how to articulate it. And that's why people go to the park, and they go buy a house plant. We surround ourselves with plants. We surround ourselves with nature without even realizing we're doing it. And there's a movement in the US that I think is so beautiful, which is that communities are coming together, educating themselves about farming and taking over abandoned lots in the inner cities and building community gardens and growing their own food. That's phenomenal. That's what's happening.
I mean, considering that the other big problem with our world is our food industry. It is not there to give us good, nutritious food. It's another industry that's based on profit. And not only is it bad for our health, it's bad for the environment. It's bad for the other animals. The only thing it's good for is profit, really. And we're now at the point where people are addicted to sugar. Sugar's in everything. That we do not have we're not growing fruits and vegetables that are even containing the amount of nutrients that they used to back in 100 years ago because of the processing, because of the soil lacks any kind of real nutrients. I mean, you got to wonder what the tipping point is going to be with all of these things that are just not working out the way, I think more and more people are starting to understand that we are literally every day getting exposed to a level of toxicity that we didn't used to have to be exposed to. It's in our air, it's in the food we eat, it's in the soil, it's everywhere, and it's definitely affecting the way people think, the way they feel, our health. And I feel like we're coming to a tipping point where more and more people are going to be looking to our own powers that be, and we should start asking the questions like, why do we have air quality alerts? Why are we having massive die-offs in our oceans? Why are we, there's just so much ecological damage that we're doing to the planet, and it really is impacting our own health and our own physical, mental well-being at this point, I think.
It is absolutely. And to be honest, I think we've actually passed
Yeah.
the tipping point. I feel like the pendulum is swinging back to an awareness of the importance of our environment and how on the one hand, it's very fragile. And then on the other hand, coming back to us being a part of nature, on the other hand, the earth is incredibly resilient. And one of my studies when I was in university, I did a degree in geology. And what I loved about my geology course was looking at that span of time as we think we understand it, the way that the earth holds her stories in the rocks and the sediments and the volcanic flows, and that there are people out there who want to know how to read the story of the earth. And in my studies, I created this appreciation for just how vast, first of all, time is, and none of us can comprehend 4 billion years. That doesn't mean anything to any of us. We just know that the Earth has been around for a very, very long time, and a lot of things have happened on this planet before we ever got
Yep.
here. I mean, I honestly think it's the height of arrogance for human beings to think that we could take
Right.
the Earth out.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not going to
Yeah.
happen on our watch.
Mm-mm.
She won't let us. She'll come back from it. But as stewards of the Earth, we have a responsibility to take care of our
Yep.
environment, right? Not pollute it, not treat
Yep.
it poorly.
I think that is the biggest thing, is that we have been very bad at being stewards of this planet and um, working in harmony with it instead of being its abuser. We've abused every little resource, whether it be water, the trees, the land. We abuse it for profit at this point, and we need to really start um, addressing these things, not only for our own health and well-being, but for the other species on this planet. We're not the only species on this planet. They deserve to be living the way they're supposed to be living without any um, abuse from us, from humankind. It's not been the best thing for Mother Earth. You know, I think it is turning around, and I think people are starting to understand how delicate everything is. Having said that, you're absolutely right. If we would leave it alone, the Earth would come back with the beauty and with the level of the species would come back, the rivers, everything would come back if we would just leave it alone and let it stop abusing it so much. Um, but I know that let's switch gears a little bit here. And you have said that you've been studying the metaphysical things for like 30 years, stuff like rune stones and energy, or angel therapy and things like that. Can you talk about the different modalities like that? Have you had any metaphysical experiences as far as like, angelic interactions or anything like that? Or what kind of intuitive gifts do you have?
So more
I,
than I can count. Yes. So one of the things that I want to just to leave off that
yes.
previous conversation before we dive into all the wonderful mysteries and magic that is around us. I believe that when we take the time to be responsible for ourselves and our health and our well-being, we create a ripple effect. How are we going to save the planet? We're going to save ourselves first. It's like when the air mask drops down, from the airplane. Who puts it on first? Right? The caregiver puts it on first. So if people want to learn how to save the planet, they can go out in the streets and protest all they want. They can sign 1,000 petitions. They can rattle their sabers in front of the politicians and the money people who have the money. But ultimately, what's going to make the difference is doing the healing work on the self first, calming everything down, calming down the central nervous system, calming down the apocalyptic thinking, becoming in right relationship with yourself as a human being, instead of constantly hitting yourself against the head saying, I'm a bad, bad human being because I'm a human being. That has to heal. One person at a time. But when one person heals, their vibration rises and it goes out into the world and it impacts the people around them. And what happens is that the people around them who are not well want to become well because they're in the energy of somebody who's healthy.
Yes.
And they'll start finding ways to do that, which does bring us to, all the different healing modalities that are available, things like rune stones and oracle cards or tarot cards or crystals. These are tools. And what the tool does is it helps us focus our intention on what it is we want to achieve, right? I mean, in and of itself, an oracle card is a piece of paper with a picture and some writing on it. So is a tarot card. Crystal is a beautiful thing that comes out of the earth, and the matrix and the energy of crystals are incredible, and we could talk for hours on those. But really, at the end of the day, it's something you're holding in your hand. It's not doing the magic. It's not doing the healing. You are, when you engage with the tools and say, I believe this tool is going to help me raise my vibration, or this is going to help me feel better and have more energy, or I'm going to pull this oracle card and the message is going to be meaningful to me and it's going to give me an aha moment. It's the focus and the intention. It's the person doing the magic. And then we have all these amazing tools that we can use to do the magic. Like rune stones are one of the very first oracle type tools that I felt drawn to as a young, or I guess teenager to early 20s. And I love the connection to the ancient Celtic, the Viking, even before that. Like they are actually, these symbols are very ancient. We see them
I'm not
inscribed.
familiar with rune stones. I'm not even, what exactly are they?
So rune stones are essentially an alphabet of symbols, and I don't have them in front of me to show you, but listeners can Google up rune stones, and you'll see. And there's a fellow named Ralph Bloom who brought rune stones back to the attention of the Western metaphysical communities. You find the actual symbols used as a form of writing on a lot of Viking stone work in Europe. But you also find similar symbols in India, in ancient megalithic structures all around the world. And when I say megalithic, I'm saying prior to the end of the last ice age, moving forward to about 6,000 or 8,000 years ago. That's a whole other area that I love to study, is archaeology and anthropology. So it's a form of communication. So when we talk about rune stones, we're talking about little stones. They're usually, about that big, or you can see that big. And each stone has a carving in it of a different symbol. And I wish I had the exact number in my mind. I think there's about 20 of them. It's not quite the 24 characters we have in our alphabet. But when you look at the rune stones, you see similarities. There's an M in our alphabet. There's an M in the rune stones. It's the rune stone for movement, right? So the idea is that you've got this bowl full, or this bag full of these stones that each have a different symbol on them. And you use them as like a form of readings, a way to connect in with your intuition, a way to seek guidance moving forward. Runes were never a spoken language. They were only ever a written language, and they were only ever a mystical or magical written language.
Interesting.
So we see them in tombs and we see them on markers, like travel markers, big stones. And then they were used mystically as well. So shamans would use them, or, people seeking wisdom would use these rune stones.
So they're sort of akin to pulling cards or tarot cards. You are getting information based on the energy that you're putting into those rune stones. You should get some sort of, okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can read them the same way as you would read oracle cards or tarot cards. You could do a one card pull, a one rune pull. You could do three. And the first one represents the question, the second one represents the solution, the third one represents the outcome if you follow the guided information. So you can use them in exactly the same way. They're more physical. They have a weight to them generally. They come in lots of different materials, stones or bones or clay, lots of different ways that you can work with them. And they're just very accessible.
What is the difference between tarot cards and oracle cards? I don't, what, I never understood that.
I love that question. I love that question. So what you've got with tarot is you have a structured series of cards representing people who we engage with in our lives, as well as the kinds of things that we go through in our lives. So with the tarot, and the tarot is based on an ancient form of divination. Its roots go back as far as Egypt. In some studies, it experienced a revival in the French courts as a hobby, like a fun thing for the courtiers to do. It is the precursor also to our playing cards. And you can do readings with playing cards. But so the suits that you have in a deck of playing cards, and then the king, the queen, and the prince or whoever, the joker, the jester, all of those characters come from the characters that are in tarot. And what tarot is it's a story of a man's journey through his life, or a person's journey through their life, starting when the person is very young, that's the Fool, and then ending when he's very old, and that's the Hermit card. And then it's the people that he meets along his journey, and it's the experiences that he has of things going wrong, things going his way, abundance and flow. So each of the minor suits represent 4 different areas of human experience. Every deck of oracle cards has the same number of cards, and each card that represents, say, the 7 of Cups or represents the Empress has certain symbols that are required to be on that card. And the symbols are universal symbols, sort of like the runestone that we were just talking about. But they're ways of connecting to the information and opening up your intuition when you see these symbols. So it's very structured. Oracle cards, on the other hand, sky's the limit. So oracle cards can be any number of cards in a deck, any shape or size, any color, anything. And the messaging on the oracle card is completely up to the author, whether it's a channeled message or it's something that they've just come up with themselves that they love. It can be any theme. And there are probably literally thousands of oracle card decks in the world right now. And people are continually publishing them. So when you put the two side by side, if you're looking for structure and you want to have explanation, you use tarot. If you're looking for something more organic that has a little more creative juices in it, then you go for oracle. And the two can be used simultaneously, or they can be used quite separately. There are some people who are avid tarot readers and they would never touch a deck of oracle cards, and you've got the opposite. You've got people who love their oracle cards and can't be bothered to do tarot. At the end of the day, like I said before, it's pieces of paper with symbolism and imagery and powerful messages. And the person doing the magic is the person who's just doing the reading, who's looked for that card, who's set the intention of wanting to have solution or have something change in their life or guidance, right? The tarot and the oracle card are never going to tell you what to do, and they're never going to solve your problems. That's you. Yeah. You got to do that. But they can guide you.
Understand you've created your own deck of oracle cards. It's called the Heart's Journey Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook. Can you tell us a little bit about that? and how that can help guide people to their own healing?
Absolutely. So it's a box set, and I have it right here.
Oh,
So it comes in this beautiful box set. And then inside the box, there's a few different things that make it somewhat unique in the world of oracle cards. And I've been studying and working with oracle cards for, again, like around 30 years or so. And the thing that always struck me when I was working with a deck, even if I loved the imagery and loved the messaging and loved the person who wrote it or who authored it, I wanted to know their story. I wanted to know why this theme, this image, this message, how did it relate to them? Where did it come from? So when I decided it was time for me to author my own deck of oracle cards, I realized that one of the things I wanted to include in it was my own story of why these images, and they're images of hearts in nature. And so in the guidebook, I share that story of coming out of a 23-year marriage with 2 little kids in tow and everything that entails, and wanting to do it with as much integrity and following my heart as I could. And I said to the universe one day, please give me a sign. Give me a sign that when I see it, I'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm following my heart. And the universe has a great sense of humor and said, okay, here you go. Here's some hearts. Them everywhere. Or when you work with the book, you get to have that insight into where these came from, why it was important in my life, and kind of like a touchstone into my own vulnerability and transparency, because the focus is on the heart. And having gone through a separation and divorce from somebody who I thought I was going to be married to for the rest of my life, I can speak to what that feels like, especially when there's little kids in tow, and just wanting to do it with the most integrity as possible. So somebody picking this up and reading that story, if it resonates for them, we already have a connection. They already trust me, and they trust the process. They're ready to open up their hearts. And then I explain in the guidebook how to work with oracle cards, different kinds of spreads you can do, different things to get ready to work with them. Some of the things that are important, like giving yourself space and time to do a reading for yourself. Turn off your phone, maybe light a candle, create a space that's really relevant, because that's going to help you psychically, but it's also going to help your brain move into an altered state, which is where we are most able to receive information from our higher self, or just our brain in general, because we're super smart, we're super wise about the things we need to do in our lives to make our lives better. We just don't always listen. So you create that space. So I teach people in the book how to do that. And then each of the cards has its own page. And so there's the picture of the heart, and in this case, it's child's heart. And then I give more information than just what's on the back of the card. And then as well, because people love to journal, and it's a really great idea when you're starting to work with oracle cards that you keep a journal of your readings, the cards you pulled, what came up for you. It's really important in the healing journey to be able to go back and see where you came, where you've come from, and what was important then. And often when we go back and read notes from a reading of 2 or 3 years ago, we see something that we didn't see when we first did that reading, we first pulled that card. There's a new meaning in our lives when we do that. So there's a journal in here as well. And there's inspirational quotes on the inside of the book, and it's all my own photography. And again, it's with that theme of all these beautiful hearts in nature. And then just to give you everything you need to do this properly, you get a bookmark and a pen. And then you get your deck of oracle cards. And there's 42 cards in the deck, and they're full color.
Oh, beautiful.
And then each card has a message on the back.
Oh, those are beautiful. Really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's a full toolkit. It's that whole idea of the healer's toolkit. How many things can you have that you can work with that are going to help you focus on the intention of the healing or the guidance or all of those wonderful things.
If somebody's out there now and they are having health issues, what is your best advice as far as what they can do to start their own healing journey? What are the very first steps somebody should take in order to heal themselves?
That's a great question, because I think it's different for everyone. But I would say the first thing is to make a commitment to being responsible for your own health. That's the very first thing. We have been brought up to to bless the white coat and the stethoscope. And we've been taught to give away our health and our autonomy over our health.
And our own power.
And our own power. And so I would start with a question. And the question would be, how can I be more responsible for my own health? And then allow something to show up for you, which it will. You are going to have to trust your intuition on this one. You're going to have to do a little bit of woo-woo here. Because what's going to happen is if you say, what do I need to do to be more responsible for my health? Something is going to pop into your mind instantly. And that first thing that pops into your mind, that's the first step that you take. And it might surprise you what it is. I've worked with clients with this question many, many times. And they think that maybe they have to cut out sugar or they should exercise more or, all the kind of main platitude things that we think we're supposed to do. It might be something simple like stop beating yourself up.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's a remarkable, really, what your mental well-being and what your physical health, how much of an overlap there is there when it comes to feeling good on a day-to-day, for sure. I still struggle with my health, and I have been, working on it for a good decade now, and it is a journey. It really is,
It is, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because I was thinking about this as I was processing a bunch of wild mushrooms because I was out foraging yesterday with my daughters and we just hit a bonanza. We came home from the forest with just all these amazing chanterelles, which is one of my favorite wild mushrooms. And anyway, so I'm sitting at the table and I'm thinking about our conversation today and what we're going to be talking about. And this thought popped into my head around this piece of responsibility and what is the step that you take? Like, how do you move forward on this journey? And what I heard is it's every day. It's every day. There's no end to being healthy. It's not like you get healthy and then, okay, you're good for the rest of your life. And I started to think about all the things that I do every day to be healthy, to keep my immune system strong, to keep my central nervous system strong, to keep my body strong. And I have off days. I had I don't know, some kind of a cold or something a couple of weeks ago. But when that happens, I have a resilience because every day I'm doing something. So the coffee that I'm drinking right now from my favorite mug.
Love that.
Just had to throw that in there. My side chick mug. In my coffee every day, I put cinnamon, ground cinnamon. I put turmeric. I put black pepper. I put cardamom, ground cardamom. I put fenugreek. I put in mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms that I harvest myself out from the wild, and I dry them and I powder them. I use essential oils throughout the day. I don't even think about it anymore. But when I was sitting there today in meditation, as I'm working with these beautiful mushrooms, thinking, how do I incorporate being healthy on a daily basis? And if you'd asked me this 15 years ago or 20 years ago, when I was given a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, the thought of all the things that I now have in place that are simply habitual and I don't even think about them probably would have overwhelmed the heck out of me. I would have sat at my kitchen table in tears thinking, I can't do all of that. How can I do all of that? It's so much. And I've got babies and I have to do, and it's just too much. But it's not. It's not when you start with that one thing and you go from there and you add it, and it's not going to happen overnight and it's not going to happen in a pill. You have work to do. And these bodies of ours, these lives of ours, they're high maintenance.
Yep.
They need a lot of work.
It's so true.
But you can get to a place where that work is no longer work. It's just how you live your life.
It's almost remote. It's just, I have so many things. I know exactly what you're talking about that I do every day that are so remote now that I don't even think about, whether it be, my supplements or my peptide shots, or, I do a lot of like infrared saunas or, high dose vitamin C IVs and stuff that I just do so I can feel my best all the time. And I don't have to worry about getting taken down by a cold or by something, like to keep myself as strong as possible. But it is a lot, and it's a lot when you think about it. But I've just been doing it for so long. It's not even on my radar anymore. It's a part of my life. It's just something that I do, like feeding my dog. It's like, I just do it,
Well, it's so interesting. There's these two theories of medicine that went head to head back at the end of the last century, and that was the germ theory and the terrain theory. And the germ theory won at the time because the germ theory got a lot of monetary backing, and then that's that whole story, Rockefeller, yada yada yada. We won't go down that rabbit hole right now. But the terrain theory never lost hold; it just got suppressed, and it actually got very suppressed. But it's coming back. When we talk about how to take that first step, it's about your terrain. And the terrain theory just says your body is a terrain. Think of a terrain like a mountainous terrain or the prairies is a terrain. Your body is a terrain. When the terrain is in balance and is healthy, there could be a little germ out there, could be a little bug, could be a pathogen, could be a poison, gets into the system, and the terrain is healthy and vital. The terrain says, oh, sure, okay, let's just flush you out, right? It doesn't get to take hold. So what I like to do is help people understand that, first of all, what they've been taught about germs may not be entirely accurate. But secondly, this step of self-responsibility, think of your body as a terrain, like your garden. And now if your garden is full of junk and rotting cars and, whatever else is out there, it's a big old mess, things aren't going to grow very well. But if your yard is clean and you've taken care of it and you've watered it and you've put a few plants in, things are going to grow and you're going to feel really good when you go out into that garden. Right? So this whole concept of the environment that you're in, what you surround yourself with, and how you show up in the world with your beliefs and with your experiences and with your story and with your health.
I agree.
Yeah.
What is the nature numerology nexus for self-love and healing? What is that?
Everybody's asking, and I love it. Apparently, no one's heard of this before. Right?
I was curious. I've never heard of it.
Well, so the way that I look at healing is there's many layers to healing. Right? There's no one way of healing. There's what works for each person, but really you got to be open to all the different ways of healing. Fundamentally, for me, nature is the most powerful healer. It is the strongest healer that we have. Numerology is this ancient language that goes back as far as like probably the first time someone figured out that we have these things at the end of our hands that we could count them. And we could then take that counting and we could apply it to other things, and we could count how many, I was going to say mammoths, but people knew how to count long before then. But we figured out we could apply the concept of an amount to the things that were around it. So the nature numerology nexus is that nature is full of symbolism that we have applied to it. So we think of, I don't know if you're familiar with the animal totems.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Okay. So an eagle is an animal totem, for example, and we have assigned meaning to the eagle. The eagle's meaning in a lot of traditional cultures is about perspective. It's about being up high and seeing the bigger picture. And so if you see an eagle and you're aware of its meaning, and you see it once, you can be like, that's an eagle. That's kind of cool. Maybe I should shift my perspective. Or maybe you just think, it's cool. It's an eagle. Then you see it a second time. And if you're kind of aware person, you might go, yeah, well, that's interesting. I guess there must be a lot of eagles around here. Or maybe there's a meaning to this that's personal to me. Then you see a third eagle. And what I teach my students and my clients is this: by the time you've seen your third eagle, you should probably pay attention. 3 is a very magic number. And then if you start seeing eagles all the time, like if now there's a 6th time, 7th time, there's a message for you. In that combination of the symbolism of the natural world and the meaning that we have given to the number of times that we see it. And so it's all about the nature nurture nexus is all about allowing images and symbols to have meaning as we move through that healing journey. And the self-love piece is that I personally believe that nature loves me. Nature loves me. And so nature is going to work with me. If I have a a problem that needs a solution, if I'm in a situation that's challenging and I'm not sure which direction to go in, if I'm willing to be open to what is around me and how messages might come to me from an angel or a guardian spirit or a deceased loved one or, whomever is out there looking out for me, they're going to use nature to do that.
I agree.
Right? And because I understand the meaning of the numbers, I can then add an extra layer to it. Right? Like five, the meaning of 5 is that you're in the middle. You're in the middle and you've done a whole lot of work here and you're about to move into something new with all the work that you've done. So 5 is a moment to pause.
Interesting.
And take stock before you move forward and decide what you don't need to take with you as you move forward. So if I see 5 eagles and I know that eagle's about perspective and that eagle's one of my totem animals, then I'm going to absorb that message. I'm going to do a little self-love, a little self-care and say, I'm going to just stop for a couple of days. I'm going to look after myself. I'm going to not look after the whole wide world. It doesn't need me. It doesn't need me to save it today. It's okay.
I have found that, I'm still new in spirituality and being on my path, and I'm still learning. And it's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is because there really is so much out there to learn. And when you start talking to people, you start opening up to all different types of concepts that you never would have been exposed to otherwise. And I have learned that when you start tuning into nature, you start tuning into your environment and paying attention to things like that, that the universe will start speaking back to you. It'll start connecting with you in ways that you would have never known of otherwise, had you not started tuning in and paying attention to things like the eagle on the tree, or that butterfly you keep seeing, or there are signs out there that energetically will come into your reality that are communicating with you. We just never most people just are not aware enough to be paying attention and to tune into them. But you do have signs around you all the time, whether it be numbers of things or nature interacting with you in a way that you would take for granted any other day. But when you're listening, you can hear that message. If you're disconnected, you're not going to be able to receive the messages that are coming to you probably almost on a regular basis anyways. And I have found that since I am much more in tune with myself and with energies around me, that I am able to come across a lot more synchronicities in my life than I ever have before, because I am paying attention to that now. I am listening now. And you have to be open to it. You have to be listening for it.
You do. And I have something that I teach that's I call the 3 S's. And you've touched on 2 of them. Well, actually, I think you've said all 3. It's signs, symbols, and synchronicities.
Yeah.
Right. So signs are, well, they're just that. They're signs. It's like, let's say you just really want to go to Hawaii and you can't think of any possible way. Like, it's just not possible that you could go to Hawaii, but you just can't stop thinking about it. And then you start seeing travel logs about Hawaii. And you open up a magazine in the doctor's office and there's an ad for Hawaii. And somebody's talking next to you about how they just went to Hawaii. These are signs. This is somebody in your collective team, your guides, whomever, your higher self, saying, okay, we really, really want you to be paying attention to Hawaii.
Yep.
All right. And then you move into the symbol. So the symbol might be you start seeing pineapples everywhere, like a symbol of Hawaii. It doesn't have to be so literal, but it could be just something that is meaningful to you about Hawaii. It's palm trees. It's like you just can't stop thinking about it and you can't stop seeing it. Right. And then the synchronicities are when the things you thought were impossible start happening because you've allowed yourself to think of the possibility. Right? And this is one of the key things about manifesting that I teach people, is that instead of saying, I can't do it, it's not possible, you say, how can I do it? How can I make it possible? And then these signs, symbols, and synchronicities are the validation, if you're open to them, of, you're on the right track. You're going to get to Hawaii. That's what's going to happen. And when you were asking me earlier about, mystical experiences that I've had, I realized I didn't really answer the question, because there are so many of them, and I'm really not sure how to handpick them because they happen to me on a regular basis. And it can be something as simple as I'm thinking of a friend, and then I get an email from them, and then we have coffee, and then we have this amazing conversation. And for some people, that might not be like a metaphysical, there's, you didn't see your deceased loved one. But that's magic.
Yep.
Right? That's magic. And then I have had the experiences of, I know so many of my past lives and my past life experiences. I teach on past lives, and past life therapy is an amazing tool for helping us understand our experiences from this lifetime, and then how we bring them in. And again, it's like that bigger picture that we look at.
One of the things we don't, we're starting to come up on our time here, but one of the things that I don't think people understand is even our ancestral lineages that we have, we could be sick from some ancestral karma that we're not even aware about, that we are trying to heal from in this lifetime. There's just so many reasons that are mystical and magical why people get sick and why things happen to them. I always try and ask myself now, what is this trying to show me? What is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to be doing with this symptom, this feeling, this, because there's just so many underlying reasons why, other than, yes, we are living in a much more toxic environment. Yes, all of those things are true. But it really can be much more metaphysical as far as ancestral karma, or you're supposed to be learning this process in this life to bring you, maybe it's supposed to make you a more empathetic person. Maybe it's supposed to work on your ability to be compassionate to others. I know for me, my own health journey has allowed me to be more compassionate and empathetic to other people. And the way that humans are built, it seems as if we don't really learn that lesson a lot through watching other people. We learn our lessons through our own experiences in this world. And it really seems to be the most impactful way to be able to open us up to being other people, like me going from an atheist to now a spiritual person. If you would ask me, I've told this story on the show before, but like, I remember going to a psychic in New Orleans, and she said, you are going to end up becoming a deeply spiritual person. And this was before I was really sick or anything. And I laughed in her face because I was the most, there was just not anything in me that even felt like I was going to become a spiritual person that at that time. And you just never know where your life is going to take you. And as hard as being sick is, it can be a gift in a really weird way to open you up to a different side of yourself that you didn't know was there. So it's much more complicated. We are, in general, I think, much more complicated when it comes to what we experience in this lifetime and why we experience them.
I agree. And I think part of that is that we make it complicated.
Yeah.
I've said for years and years and years, like, nature is not complicated. There's a lot going on. It can be complex, but it's not complicated. Life is not complicated. It doesn't have to be. But we, as a species, seem to be drawn to drama. And so we complicate things. We make it way more complicated than it has to be. And one of the things that I teach on is ease. It's okay if it's easy. Put that Protestant work ethic to bed.
Yeah.
About deserving, and you're going to work hard. It's great to work hard if you're loving what you're doing. Nothing wrong with working hard. But that's not going to get you necessarily what you think you deserve any more than being lazy and not doing anything is. What you can do is you can invite ease into your life. You can do it every day. And this is a practice that my students go through when they take the Confident Healer course. It's one of the very first things they do is that I invite them to wake up every morning and say out loud, I invite ease into my day. Right? It's not necessarily going to be easy, although it can be easy, but it's not really about making it easy. It's about how you show up with ease and grace to move through the things that are going to come at you, because they're going to come at you, the good things and the bad things. But you can be in a state of ease. You can invite that in, that's going to change your awareness. It's going to change your vibration. And what you're going to find is you don't get hooked into the drama. It just swirls around you. You're not a part of it anymore. That's one of the first steps to being a healthy person,
it
quite
really
frankly.
is. And if you can swim in the drama and maintain a sense of calm and peace, that is probably the biggest life hack you're ever going to be able to get to. And it's not easy, but it's certainly a tool that if you can stay in that frame, not only are you going to be happier, but you are going to be in a space of allowing goodness to penetrate you, you know, like attracts like. I say that a lot. Like, you're vibrating at a certain frequency and you are going to attract whatever else is out there that is vibrating at your level. And if you're swimming in the drama and the negativity, you are going to attract that in your life. And I'm very cognizant of my feelings and how I'm vibrating, because I want to be able to attract from a perspective of being calm, of being in gratitude, and of being in a situation where I am going to attract my highest and greatest. That's the best advice. I do feel like maybe because I'm going through it myself, but just from doing all of this, I do feel like there's more and more people out there that are awakening to a sense of spirituality. I feel like there are more people that are starting to understand that we're more than what we were taught that we were. And we are more powerful than we think we are. Our intentions, our beliefs, all of that have power. And manifestation is real. And when you use visualization or meditation or your thought process to pull in something, you can really affect what happens to yourself on the outside there. It's like very connected. We're all connected. It's all connected.
Yes.
So,
absolutely. And I think what's really important for people to acknowledge or to recognize is that, at least this is my belief, is that it's not my job to change anybody else. I am my only responsibility when it comes to that. I can show up for people. I can say, here's some tools I have, but I'm not going to heal them. When I call myself a healer, and then I was given the title master healer, that's not about my ability to heal somebody else. It's about my ability to hold space for somebody's healing. They're going to do the healing work. Right? That is a fundamental piece of this whole journey of waking up and realizing, damn, no one else is going to do this for me. I bet I gotta do it myself. And that's true. And the beautiful thing about that is that means that you can change your mind. You can't change somebody else, but you can change your mind about what you believe is true, about what's happened to you, about how you interact with other people, about what you believe is possible for yourself. You can change your mind. That is the most incredibly powerful tool that we have, that we've been given by whomever gave it to us, right? I mean, whether it's God, Goddess, Yahweh, flying spaghetti monster, it doesn't matter. There's nothing beyond us. And we come into this human experience with the ability to change our mind. And as soon as we change our mind, everything around us can change.
Agreed. If people are looking for help through their healing journey, how do you do in person? Do you do remote? Or how do you typically interact with people?
So if somebody's in my area, which is southern Vancouver Island in Canada, where they were coming across the water from Vancouver, another part of BC, they can certainly come and see me in person. I have a beautiful healing room in my home that I invite people to come into, and all my products are there. I have a whole line of products that I make from natural elements, from plants and seaweeds and mushrooms and things like that, and my essential oils. So they can come and they can see me personally. We can do energy work and we can do counseling and we can work with the oracle cards, all the different tools that I have. And then equally, if somebody is anywhere else in the world, we can get together on this amazing magical technology that we have, where we can do video calls and we can record all of it. And when I do work with people, I do record everything. So if somebody's with me in my healing space, we have the recorder on and they get to have a copy of the conversation so they can go back over it, because so much happens in a session, you're not going to remember all of it. And then equally, if we're online, if we're on Zoom or one of the other video platforms, there's a recording that they receive as well, so that they can continue to do their work in between the sessions that we have. And some people come and see me for one session and they receive what they need in that session. And I might not ever hear from them again. Or they'll come 3 or 4 years later. And then some people will purchase a package and they'll commit to, because they know they've got something that's bigger than just 1 or 2 sessions. And so then we do that deeper work to get them to the
Is
place where they
there
want to be.
a website that you want to give a shout out, or an email, or what is the easiest way people can contact you?
Yes, absolutely. So it's Megan at meganedge.ca is my email address. And then it's meganedge.ca is the website. And through the website, you can see all the work that I do and you can see all the services that I provide for people. And then you can always reach out to me on places like Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, where else? On my YouTube channel. It might take me a few days because there's a lot of places. For email me, just keep it simple. There's a contact form on the website.
Well, I will definitely put your email and your website out on the show notes. And I am gonna say, everybody that's having any kind of issues out there with their health, or want to know more about how to be more healthy, or what things that they can do for themselves to get going in the health arena, they should absolutely reach out to the master healer herself, Megan Edge. I mean, I will. I absolutely. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Megan. It's really important topic. Being healthy is a journey in this world these days, and we need more people like you out there that are able to tap in to one's ability to heal themselves, because that's the journey right there. Heal thyself, kids. Everybody. Yes.
Heal thyself. Yeah, absolutely. I do have a gift for
Oh,
your
great.
listeners too. I wanted to get that in there. That's I have a discount link that I've provided, and if they want to purchase the Heart's Journey through that link, they get a 15% discount. And if they would like me to sign their copy, I'm more than happy to do that. Or if it's a gift for somebody else, I can sign it for the other person. But they'll get that 15%, and that's in perpetuity. So
That's
whomever jumps in and
That's great. Send me the link. I'll put that in the show notes as well, and people will get. Thank you very much, Megan. That's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful conversation.
You come back anytime. I'd love to have you back on the show. It was an absolute pleasure. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and call it a wrap on this episode of Fate, from Atheism to Enlightenment. I'd like to thank Megan Edge, the master healer, and we will see you next week. Journey well, everyone. Alrighty, guys, that is a wrap on this episode of Fate, from Atheism to Enlightenment. I want to thank Megan for coming on the show today and spending her time with me. And I will put all of her information in the show notes, her email, her website, as well as the link to her Oracle deck with the 15% off code. So I would definitely take advantage of that. And I really can't recommend enough that if you are in the middle of a healing crisis, you're having health issues, have health concerns, reach out to Megan. She has so many tools that can start you on your own healing journey. And I love what she says, which is so true. She holds space for you, and you do your own healing. It's true. Healing really does start within. I know it definitely did for me. And Megan is a talented healer. There's a reason why they call her the master healer. And if you're in any kind of need of healing, ready to step into your own path, your own journey, reach out to Megan and she will help you get there. I mean, it's very important to do all the physical stuff that our bodies need: sleeping, eating the right foods, taking the right supplements. All of that is extremely important for our health. But we are also energetic beings, gang, and you need to address the energy part of who we are. And it can lead you on a journey that is going to be not only improving your health, but your mental well being, and change so many things about you for the best. I can promise you that. I have gone through a transformation myself. So reach out to Megan. She can definitely start your healing journey with you. So I wish you well in that. With that, guys, I can be reached on Instagram at F.A.T.E. podcast. Go ahead and follow the show. DM me if there's something that you think that I should be talking about on this show. I would love to hear about it. If you have a spiritual journey that you want to tell, I'm also open to that. I love to hear people's journeys for their own awakening. I think many people are having awakenings these days, and I'd love to tell their stories on this show. I really, truly appreciate everybody who has been journeying with me. It has been so enlightening for me, transformative for me, and a pleasure to have the type of people that I've had on. And I have learned so much on this podcast. I really want to be able to continue to do this as long as possible. And I need your help. I need your help if I'm going to keep doing this. So tell a friend, subscribe, like, share, turn somebody onto this show. I would love to bring as many people along with me on this journey as possible so I can continue to raise the consciousness of this planet and bring only the highest and greatest good to all. So with that, guys, I will see you next week on Fate, from atheism to enlightenment. And welcome to your fate, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye.